are here at La Palm Royal Beach Hotel. We're about to see Gina Paige today from AfricanAncestry.com, and we're gonna get our DNA, babe. Oh my goodness,
yeah. We're gonna get our DNA done by the great Miss Paige, and we are super excited for what she and African Ancestry are doing, for us to retrace our steps back into history and find out who we are. And it is so important, and we're super excited. Super excited. So
wow, perfect.
yeah, we were. Yeah, that's what you need to do that. Okay, so my first question is if you can tell us a little bit about just who you are and what made you want to get into the field of DNA and genetics and doing African ancestry.
So my background is business. So I wasn't necessarily thinking that I would get into DNA or genetics. I didn't have an interest in science at all. I like to tell people the last science class I took was in the 11th grade. You know, that's not, right. That was a long time ago. But I was introduced to Dr. Kittles by a colleague at Howard University, and she was collaborating with him on the psychological impact of his research. So the idea that he was going to be connecting Black people to the continent, what did that mean psychologically? And she knew he wanted to commercialize his research. So she introduced us. So for me, African Ancestry was an opportunity to, or has been an opportunity for me to use a skill set that I developed in corporate America, launching new products, line extensions, managing product lines, to do something that's never been done before. This isn't, I used to work at Colgate Palmolive on Palmolive dish liquid. There's no new way to clean your dishes, right? It's soap and water. You can put it in a pretty bottle. You can make it smell like flowers. You can put some scrubbing bubbles in it, but it's still just something. It's just dish liquid. But this, before February 21st, 2003, there was no way genetically for a Black person to connect to the continent. It just didn't exist. It's never existed before. So as a marketer, that's the ultimate challenge. How do you create something that has never existed before? And then I get to market it to a group of people that I'm passionate about. So my approach to this was through a business lens. But once you get into it, it's not even about business. I mean, we're not rich. We're not wealthy materially. You know, our competitors have sold more kits in a month than we've sold in 15 years. Wow. So it's not about that. It's about the transformation of the way that we view ourselves as Black people and the way we view Africa. And so it has become more than just a business challenge for me. But it's still not science. I'm still never going to be a scientist. I just pretend like I won for like 10 minutes during a presentation, and then that's it.
So,
Amazing.
When was the first time you got your DNA test results done, and how was your experience when you found out your results?
So I've never taken the test.
I don't believe it.
I've never taken
you
it.
Serious?
What?
But I didn't have to because
Okay.
my parents did it.
Oh.
So my parents did it even before we started the company. They did it with Dr. Kittles. So, and you know, I don't even remember if they told me. I don't know, I can't remember, but what I can tell you is that I never really did much with the information, just to know, besides knowing it, because as an entrepreneur and a startup, you don't have time. I mean, you guys know, you don't have time to do anything except what you're doing.
Yes.
And so I never really thought about it. I mean, I'd answer the question. My maternal line is Fulani, my paternal line is Awusa, but then we used to give away the Encarta Africana DVD with our results. And the digital divide is real. it was real back then. It's
The
still,
digital divide.
Yeah, so black folks don't have access to technology, I'll say, at the same rate as everyone else. So there's still plenty of black people, and certainly when we started in 2003, that didn't have computers, that didn't or don't use the internet, even though we have it. You know, our grandparents, some of our parents, they may have these phones, but they don't know how to use them. They're not. They're like, look that up for me, you know. And so we sent the DVD to an elder who didn't have a computer, and so he asked me to tell him about the House of People. And I was kind of, you know, in my zone. I was like, oh, I don't have time for this. I got to get these kids out or whatever. Yeah. And I put in the DVD, and I looked up the Hausa, and I read to him that the women are the business people of the culture. And that gave me chills, because on my paternal line, everybody's an entrepreneur. Every single person. Nobody is not an entrepreneur. My grandparents, my great-grandparents, my little cousins have written books. Like, everybody has had an entrepreneurial experience.
Women.
That's what the Encarta said. So I realized that there's something to this spiritually as well. And you know, Isaiah Washington, the actor, he always would say DNA has memory, and it does. I mean, it retains so much about us, and it's not just physical.
You mentioned that you didn't have to take the test because your parents took it. Now, for those who don't know, what does that mean, and how does that, because I know you told us, you know, that we can do it together. So for our audience, can you elaborate on that a little bit, how you can come together as a family to get the test done and have the same results?
Yeah. So we have two tests. One test traces maternal ancestry, and that would be mother to mother to mother to mother on back. It goes back 500 to 2,000 years. So that test looks at, actually, let me take a step back. We each inherit 50% of our DNA from our mother and 50% from our father. Right. Mother's yellow and your father's blue, then you're going to be green.
Okay.
Right.
Okay?
Yes.
So we're green,
Yes.
but imagine we all have a little yellow dot. We have a little bit of our DNA that didn't mix.
Okay.
It stayed yellow.
Okay.
So we're green, but we have a little bit of DNA from our mother that stayed yellow. That's mitochondrial DNA. It's maternally inherited. So you got it from your mother, she got it from her mother, and her mother. For generations, it didn't change. When you had children, you passed it to your children. When your daughters become mothers, they pass it to their children. So this yellow dot, this mtDNA, gives us an informative record of all the women that have come before us. So when we take your DNA, we just look at the yellow dot. We don't look at all of your DNA, just the mitochondrial DNA, and just a very, very small part of it. And we compare it to mitochondrial DNA, yellow dots from all over the world. And we have the largest collection of African yellow dots. So if we can find matching yellow dots somewhere else in the world, then you have to share ancestry with those people, because the mitochondrial DNA didn't change. Everything else turned green, but that little bit of your DNA didn't. And so your results are the same for everybody in your family on that maternal line.
Maternal line. So we say on the maternal line, so even if it's boys born from that maternal line, it's the same.
Yes.
Okay.
So your kids, your brothers and sisters, your mother, your aunts and uncles, their kids, your grandmother, her brothers and sisters, their kids, and so on. Wow. Okay, so that's why when my mother did it and found Fulani, those are the same for me. They're the same for my aunt and uncle, their kids. Then my cousins who are girl or women, they had kids, so it's the same for their kids.
Right.
My grandmother, when she was living, all her brothers and sisters, my aunt, my cousin, my mother's cousin, everybody, right? So that's why I was saying, one person takes the test, everybody's going to share the results. And we have big families as black folks, most of us. So, everybody pitch in $20 and you have a kit. And then everybody shares the results. So that's on the mother side.
Yes.
We also have a test that traces paternal ancestry. And that's father to father to father to father to father. So we go back to our art lesson. Mother's yellow, father's blue, your green.
Yes.
You have a yellow dot from your mother. But you, John, you also have a blue dot. You and your son. You have a little bit of DNA that you got from your father that didn't mix and turn green.
Wow.
And that's the Y chromosome. The Y chromosome determines maleness. So only men have Y chromosomes. We don't want Y chromosomes. We're cool.
Yes.
Like we are.
Right.
So it's kind of like the last name in most families. It's passed from father to son.
So he
father
can.
to
I'm sorry.
son.
He can get both. So the maternal
Right.
line, but we can only get one. The
Right.
maternal as a
So
woman.
we need our brothers, our fathers, our grandfathers, uncles, somebody on the paternal side to take that test.
Right.
And it works the same way. We compare a portion of your Y chromosome to the largest database of African Y chromosomes and look for matches. So then everybody in your family whose father is a Christian shares the same paternal result. So when my father did it, I couldn't do it for the paternal line.
Right.
His results are the same for his 6 brothers and sisters, their kids, my grandfather,
Got you. I got it now. Right.
and so on.
That is awesome.
It's time for us to know. I want to encourage everybody,
Yes,
check out
please.
AfricanAncestry.com. We
Yes,
got to get it
please.
together.
We gotta get it together.
I mean, I'm excited. The family's going to be excited.
Oh my goodness. Yes.
This is something that people should do for their family reunion.
Oh, that'll be so
I went to a
nice.
family reunion in Atlanta, and there were everybody there was related except for the husbands and the wives, right?
Right.
So about 80 people stood up. They were all descendants from one great-grandmother.
Oh my God.
And I was like, because of Kemet, the person who took the test, his name was Kemet, you all now know that you share ancestry with these people in this country. And the whole room was like,
Oh my gosh. Oh my God.
their ancestry was Mandinka, so they were hyped. Like whenever you tell a black man he's Mandinka, he's like, yes. So I knew it would be a big hit.
Right.
I'm suggesting that you all take the matriclan test. So you each will trace your maternal line. That's my suggestion. You certainly could choose to do the paternal instead. But let me tell you that when we trace the maternal line, the results come back. We can't guarantee it's going to be African, first of all. Neither of you is 100% African. But we don't know where the European comes in. And we're only looking at one branch of the tree. So it might be African, it might be Native American, it might be Asian, it might be European, we don't know. But when we trace the maternal line, the results come back African 92% of the time. Because white women, Asian women, whatever, other women, they weren't having brown babies. White women weren't having brown babies that often. Today is a little bit different, but historically. So there's the best chance that we'll find African on this line. When we look at the blue dot or the Y chromosome, those results come back African 65% of the time. And a third of the time they come back European, because white men were having brown babies at significant rates. So it doesn't matter whether you look like me or Wesley Snipes. There's a 35% chance that there was a white man in your paternal line. So that's why
How far does it go back?
500 to 2,000 years. So that's why I suggest the maternal line. But you have an option, John. Yeah.
Whatever your suggestion is.
Yeah, I would suggest it. You guys aren't aware of any non-African women in your grandmother or great-grandmother?
Yeah.
Who's
Well, my great grandmother, she was mixed.
your mother's
your
mother's?
Yeah, my grandfather's mother.
Okay, so that's going to a father's line and
right.
then his mother's line. So that's not your yellow dot.
Okay.
That's your grandfather's yellow dot.
Gotcha.
Right.
So that won't show up. Okay, so inside your kit, you have that black brochure, and that has an explanation of the master clan test that you're going to do. If you open it up all the way, you'll see our terms and conditions. That's our legally binding contract with you that we're not going to sell or share your personal, genetic, or financial information. Okay? And our lab destroys the DNA once a result is determined. Okay? Now, that form in your hand is on the black envelope, on the black brochure, there's a barcode number on this. Right? Okay, that should be the same as what's on this specimen information form. So let's make sure those are the same. And that form is just how we associate your name and address with your kit ID number.
Right.
We keep that in our office. It does not, the people at the lab don't see that information. Okay, so you're completely confidential. Then you should have 2 swab envelopes, and they should have the same barcode as everything else. You should have, those swab envelopes are what we send to the lab. So there's no place for your name or address, so they have no idea who you are. And then you should have 3 packs of swabs. There are 2 swabs in each pack. And so there are a total of 6 swabs that we're going to use. And then there's a postage paid envelope for you to return, but you're not. I'm gonna take them back, so that's not relevant here. And if you do it internationally, we don't pay the postage. The person abroad is responsible for the postage. Okay, so you all have not had any caffeine, alcohol, mouthwash, toothpaste, or nicotine in the past 3 hours. Okay, so what you should let's start with the swabbing. So you're going to open up your swabs and take one out at a time, and then gently rub the inside of your cheek 20 times on the left, 20 times on the right. Gently.
What do you say to people that feel that every person with African blood should relocate back to Africa? What do you say to those people?
You know, I think Dr. Bennett at the Diaspora and African Forum, she says it best. Everybody's not going to come back, but everybody can look back. And so you can still experience Africa, support Africa, love Africa, be Africa. Just visit, or if you don't visit, support in other ways. But from what I've been told, Ghana is the place to be if you want to live in Africa. So
There you go.